Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is We Want Biblical Reparations. And this title pretty much came at the camp. Elder Pastor R threw the title out there at me, and I wrote it down, and here we are. I'm going to do the lesson on it. I got a couple of precepts. It's looking a little shady out here, like it might want to rain. It's been holding up. I've been waiting down at the other part of the park down there to do the lesson, but the guys, as soon as I sat down, started putting the lesson together, they came out, started cutting the grass, so it's kind of a little noisy, so I had to move down this way. So let's see how far we can get. If it gets too crazy, I got an umbrella out here, but if it gets too crazy, I may have to shut it down and then maybe restart it in the truck or something like that. But we'll see how it goes. All right. So we want biblical reparations. See, Jake wants reparations here, but they want those dollar bills, FRNs, that are worth nothing. True reparations, true biblical reparations consist of having our own land back, having the riches of the world, having the nations bring us back everything that they took from us, being able to enjoy our children, not have to worry about getting up to go to work for somebody else, and ultimately the top blessing is to have slaves, and every nation that's ruled, they've had their slaves, So when we go into the book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, and the 54th verse, we're going to read on down. It says, 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. It says, "And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen, which are the Israelites. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes." So the Lord made the world for our sakes. So Ezra is reasoning in this prayer, and this is what he asked the Lord. He said, "As for the other people, which also come of Adam, like the other nations, thou hast said that they are nothing." And that's the truth. Because the only people that are something to the Lord are the Israelites. And the reason why those other nations were created, they were created to be our servants. Royalty has to have someone to serve them, because royalty does not work. It says, "But be like unto spittle." So they're nothing, and they're like unto spit. It says, "And has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel," which that is found in the book of Isaiah, the 40th chapter. How the Lord feels about these nations. He doesn't feel too nice, He doesn't have very many nice things to say about these other nations, But here it is, it says, "And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us," because that was a part of the curse in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. The Lord said if we kept his commandments, he would put us up on high above all nations. He said, but if we disobeyed the Lord, then he was going to put us at the bottom. That's why they're the head and we're the tail. It says, "But we thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands." See, so we're in captivity under these nations, even to this very day. You have the misconception that we're free. Just because you're able to move about and you're not locked in a cell does not mean that you're free. We are all contractual slaves through the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment made us contractual slaves. That's why whenever you get any form of documentation from the government, your name is in all capital letters. That is a straw man. That is not an actual entity. That is a fictitious entity that is a representative of you. And through that fictitious entity with all those capital letters, that gives them the right or the ability to have you as a slave unknowingly, beginning with your birth certificate, your social security card, driver's license, and all these other different contracts that we have made with the government. It says, if the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? So we don't have a possession with the world. The world, you have Edomites in power, you have Moabites in power, you have Hamites in power, all these different nations in power, and you better believe that they all have slaves. Slaves of other nations, slaves of their own people, but they have slaves. They have empires and they have slaves. We're a nation that are slaves, and we don't have, our own land. We don't have, slaves. We don't have cattle, and riches, like the other nations do. So we don't have a possession with these nations. And it's funny because when you go back to the book of Deuteronomy 32, the Lord gave all these nations their portions of land first, and he preserved the best land for us. And this is why Ham did what he did, and the Lord caused Noah to curse Canaan, his son, because eventually the land that Canaan was going to get was going to be turned over to us, because that was really meant for us. Now, let's go from there to Zechariah 2 and 8, because we've been slaves under these nations. So Zechariah chapter 2 verse 8 says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. All right, so they put their hands on us, and now they have to pay. And that's the bottom line. We're going to go through a series of scriptures to go into that. But before we do that, because everything goes back to what? Goes back to the contract. And according to the contract that we signed with blood of oxen, it states this. When we go to Leviticus, the 25th chapter, and the 44th verse down, it says, both thy bondmen and bondmaids, meaning your slaves, men slaves, women slaves, right? It says, both thy bondmen and bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy. And this is talking about actual nations. And of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with rigor. And it's starting to rain now, so I'm going to pack it up, and I'm just going to start walking back to the truck. Just bear with me. Give me a few, and I'm going to have to do another one unless it stops. I feel like it stopped, but I don't want to take a chance and it just start pouring down, because it's looking very, very shady out here. So according to the contract, we are afforded or given the right to have servants from among the other nations. Now the world is set up. They're set up in power. They have their countries, their governments, everything established. They have slaves and all of that. But we don't have that inheritance with them as of yet. But we will. We will. So let's go from there. Let's go to the next precept, which is the book of Isaiah, the 60th chapter. We're going to start there, because Isaiah 60 pretty much sums it up. I was trying to just pick out a few verses from there, but it was kind of hard because there's so much in there, and it kind of just starts right off from the top. So Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1, it says, "Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee." And this is why we're starting to wake up from the sleep that we were in, that slumber that we were in. "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, but the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee." And that's what's happening right now. And eventually this is going to transfer over into the kingdom, because in our low state they're starting to witness this. So how much more when we, when we're magnified, when we're glorified, when we're changed. This is the book of Daniel chapter 12 verse 3. It says, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So we're gonna leave it there. Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and make that move to the truck, and just bear with me. I'll be back shortly, Lord's will.